The first cry pierced through the cabin before the plane had even reached cruising altitude. Heads turned. Eyes rolled. A few passengers sighed, tugging at their noise-canceling headphones. In seat 2A, Ethan Ward, a sharply dressed CEO in his early 40s, rubbed his temples. He had just come from a brutal week of investor meetings in New York. His company's future hung by a thread, and all he wanted was peace on this 6-hour flight to Los Angeles. But fate had other plans. The crying came from row 14, where a young woman sat struggling with a red-faced baby. She bounced, hushed, pleaded, but the baby's wails only grew louder. The woman's eyes were glassy, her hands trembling as she whispered apologies to those around her. Ethan exhaled sharply and muttered under his breath, "Unbelievable." The flight attendants moved quietly, offering tissues, water, and sympathetic smiles, but nothing worked. The tension in the cabin was thick enough to cut. Then, from the back of the plane, a man stood up. He was tall, broad-shouldered, maybe late 30s, wearing a faded hoodie and jeans. His dark hair was a little messy, his expression calm but focused. He walked down the aisle, not toward the restroom, but straight toward the crying baby. "Sir," one of the attendants started nervously. "Is there a problem?" He smiled gently. "No problem. I think I can help." The mother looked up, startled. "I'm so sorry, he just won't stop." "Hey," the man interrupted softly, crouching beside her seat. "Mind if I try something? I'm a dad. 3 kids under 6. I've been there." She hesitated, then nodded, desperate. The man reached out his arms, and the baby, still crying, was handed over. But within seconds, something extraordinary happened. The man began humming, low, rhythmic, soothing, a gentle tune that seemed to calm the air around him. The baby blinked, hiccuped once, and fell silent against his chest. The cabin went still. Passengers who'd been glaring moments earlier now watched in disbelief. Even the flight attendants froze, their jaws slightly open. Ethan, still in 2A, turned around. He couldn't look away. The man swayed slightly as he held the now sleeping baby, humming softly like it was second nature. After a few minutes, he smiled and handed the baby back. The mother's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "You have no idea what this means." He just nodded. "You're doing great, Mom." Then he went back to his seat in economy, as if nothing had happened. The rest of the flight was peaceful, but Ethan couldn't stop thinking about it. When the plane landed, he waited at the gate until the man appeared. "Hey," Ethan called out, "that was incredible. You should have seen the looks on people's faces." The man chuckled. "Just another day, I guess." "Do you do that for a living?" Ethan asked, half joking. The man smiled faintly. "Used to be an Air Force medic. Now I'm a single dad. You learn patience the hard way." Ethan nodded slowly, something shifting in his chest. For years he'd built walls, around his company, his heart, his life. But in one simple act, a stranger had reminded him what leadership and humanity truly looked like. Before they parted ways, Ethan reached into his jacket. "Listen, I run a foundation that supports families. If you ever need anything, help, work, whatever, you call me." The man paused, shaking his hand firmly. "I don't need anything, sir. Just promise me you'll remember. Sometimes people don't need fixing. They just need kindness." And with that, he disappeared into the crowd. Ethan stood there a long moment, watching him go. Around him, the world bustled on, impatient, distracted, busy. But inside, something quiet and good had awakened. That night, when he got home, Ethan opened his laptop and renamed his company's next initiative, the Kindness Project. A program to support single parents traveling with children, free upgrades, care kits, and onboard assistance. Weeks later, a flight attendant somewhere smiled as she handed a young mom a blanket embroidered with those words. Because one man on one flight had reminded a CEO, and everyone watching, that real success isn't measured by what you build, but by the hearts you lift along the way. Weeks later, the story hit the internet. A flight attendant had posted a short clip, nothing staged, just a quiet moment she couldn't forget. The man softly humming to the baby, the way the entire plane had gone silent. The mother's tearful gratitude. It went viral overnight. Millions watched. Comments poured in from around the world. Faith in humanity restored. This man deserves all the peace in the world. We need more people like him. Ethan saw the video during a late meeting. His team had been discussing numbers, market growth, and quarterly reports. But the room went still as the clip played on the screen. That was him. The man on his flight. And something about seeing it again, not from his seat in 2A, but through the eyes of strangers, hit deeper this time. It wasn't just about a quiet act on a plane. It was about the power of one human being who chose compassion over convenience. Ethan cleared his throat. "Pause that," he said softly. Everyone looked at him. He stood, walked to the window, and stared out at the city lights. "You know," he began slowly, "I've spent half my life building things, companies, teams, success. But this man built something stronger in 3 minutes on a plane. He built hope." His marketing director frowned. "Sir?" Ethan turned around, his voice firm. "We're going to change direction. From now on, our brand isn't just about innovation. It's about impact. We're going to fund programs that help real people, parents, travelers, families." Someone asked, "What do we call it?" Ethan smiled faintly. "The Kindness Project." A month later, an email arrived in his inbox. Subject, "You probably don't remember me." It was from the same man, the single dad from the flight. His name was Michael Rivers. He wrote, "I heard about your foundation. I wanted to thank you, not for offering me help that day, but for listening. I've been raising my kids alone since my wife passed 3 years ago. That flight, it reminded me that kindness still matters. If there's any way I can help with your project, I'd love to volunteer." Ethan stared at the screen for a long moment. Then he picked up the phone. 2 weeks later, they met again, this time not in a crowded airport or cramped airplane aisle, but in Ethan's office overlooking downtown Los Angeles. Michael walked in, still dressed simply, carrying a worn-out backpack. Ethan greeted him with a genuine smile. "You're earlier than most of my executives," Ethan joked. "Old military habit," Michael replied, chuckling. They sat, talked, and planned for hours. Michael shared stories of traveling with his kids, nights sleeping in airports, strangers who helped and others who didn't. Ethan listened, really listened, taking notes. When Michael finished, Ethan leaned back. "You know, you've got the kind of heart every company needs. How would you feel about joining the foundation full-time?" Michael's eyes widened. "Are you serious?" "Completely. People trust real stories, real people. You've lived it. You could run outreach, train flight crews, and help us make travel more compassionate." For the first time in a long time, Michael smiled like a man who'd just found purpose again. "I'd be honored."